How the dog got lost. It was spring, the kind of spring when the weather does whatever it wants. One day it rained, the next day the sun shone, and on the third day the wind blew, scattering clouds across the sky like a flock of sheep. But today was a beautiful day. The sun was shining, the air smelled of fresh grass, and the birds sang so cheerfully that everyone would feel like going on a trip. And the dog and the cat were getting ready for a trip. In their little house, it was cheerful since morning. The cat was running back and forth, packing things into the suitcase, documents, a handkerchief, a scarf, and also tickets, mumbling to herself. When she was done, the dog tried to close the suitcase, but it was terribly full. "Kitty," he puffed, "are you sure you really need all this?" Kitty smiled. "Doggy, we're going to Kokorkov, and you never know what you might need there." "That's true," agreed Doggy. Kitty needed to go to her hometown, Kokorkov, to take care of something, and Doggy promised to go with her. Kokorkov was indeed a big city, full of streets, houses, people, and animals. The dog didn't like it very much. He was used to peace, to their little house on the edge of the town, to meadows, the pond, and the forest. But he liked the little cat very much, so he went with her. When they had everything packed, they headed to the station. The train was already on the platform, and steam was slowly hissing from it. "All aboard," called the conductor. The dog and the cat found seats by the window, and the train soon started moving. The journey passed pleasantly. They chatted for a while, read a book for a while, and sometimes just looked out the window as fields, forests, and small villages passed by. And when the sun shone through the windows, the dog stretched out his legs, leaned his head against the seat, and took a nap for a while. "Doggy, wake up," the cat said after some time. "We're here." The dog opened his eyes, and the train was just stopping at the big station. As soon as they got off, the dog stood there with his mouth open. "Kitty, yes, there are quite a lot of people here." And he was right. The station was full. Animals and people were hurrying back and forth. Some were dragging suitcases, some were shouting, some were looking for the right train, and some were just running around confusedly. It was noisy and busy. The dog crouched a little. "I'm not used to this," he mumbled. The kitty patted him encouragingly on the shoulder. "Don't worry, doggy, you'll get used to it soon." But when they left the station and entered the streets of Kokorkov, it was even worse. At every corner, someone was shouting something. Someone was selling newspapers. Someone was honking. Someone was laughing. And someone accidentally bumped into the dog every now and then. "Excuse me, pardon me, watch out." The dog tried to hold on to the cat, but it was getting harder and harder. And just at that moment, he saw something that completely stunned him. On the other side of the street was a huge park, so big that the dog had never seen anything like it before. There were slides, climbing frames, carousels, small pools with water, and lots of fun things. Children and animals were playing there, running, laughing, and frolicking. The dog's eyes lit up. "Kitty," he said cautiously. "Yes?" "I really don't feel like pushing through those crowds." The kitty stopped. "And what would you like to do?" The dog pointed with his paw at the park. "Couldn't I play there for now, while you take care of what you need?" The kitty thought, looked at the park, looked at the dog, and then smiled. "Of course, doggy." The dog jumped with joy. "Really?" "Yes, but in 2 hours we'll meet here at the park again." "Deal," exclaimed the dog. The kitty waved to him and disappeared into the busy street. The dog ran into the park and was excited. First, he slid down the slide, then climbed on the jungle gym, then splashed in the small pool, then played hopscotch with a few other animals. It was great fun. The dog didn't even know where to jump first, and when he finally got a little tired, he sat on a bench and looked around. And just then, he saw something very interesting. On the other side of the road stood a small stand with a big sign above it saying ice cream. The dog swallowed. "Well, I could have one." And soon he was sitting on the bench, and He contentedly licked a big scoop of strawberry ice cream, but as he was licking the ice cream, he noticed another sign that said, "Hot dog." The dog's eyes lit up. "Oh dear, I haven't had a hot dog in a bun for a really long time." The dog looked at the hot dog sign for a while longer. "Well, one surely wouldn't hurt me," he finally said to himself, and so he crossed the road to the stand. In a moment, he was holding a wonderfully fragrant hot dog in a bun with mustard in his paw and happily took a bite. "Yum," he praised. It was really excellent. The dog ate it so quickly that he didn't even have time to properly wipe his snout. And just as he finished the last bite, he noticed another shop window. It was a small shop, and in the window, something sparkled that the dog recognized at first glance. Marbles. The dog's eyes lit up. "Wow." He went inside. The shop was full of glass marbles of all colors: green, blue, red, gold, striped, rainbow, small and large. The little dog walked around the shelves and just sighed admiringly. "Oh, these are so beautiful, and these too, and those over there have stars." He looked at them for a long time, but finally smiled. "I still have the most beautiful ones at home," he said contentedly. And so he left the shop again, but when he looked around the street, he suddenly stopped. He looked to the left, he looked to the right, then again. "Oh, that's strange," he muttered. "I probably didn't go this well." The dog went down one street, then another, then a third, but the longer he walked, the more he realized one unpleasant thing. Nothing here seemed familiar to him. "Wait," he said nervously. "Where is the park?" He quickened his pace, turned a corner, then another, but the park was nowhere. And suddenly it dawned on him. The dog's ears slowly drooped. "Oh dear, I think I'm lost." He just stood on the sidewalk for a moment. Around him, people were always rushing, talking, honking, but the dog suddenly felt completely alone. "Oh dear," he sighed. "The kitty is surely looking for me in the park, and I'm not there." He started pacing back and forth. "What should I do? What should I do?" Then he stopped and thought. "Wait, what do you actually do when someone gets lost?" The dog thought for a moment, and then something occurred to him. "I'll just ask someone." Just then, an older tomcat with a cane was passing by. Despite limping, he was limping quite quickly. He looked like he was in a big hurry. "Excuse me," called the dog and ran up to him. The cat stopped and looked at him a bit surprised. "Yes, please," said the dog politely. "Do you know the way to the park?" The cat raised an eyebrow. "To which park?" The dog became uncertain. "Well, the one with slides and climbing frames and merry-go-rounds," the cat laughed. "Little dog," he said amusedly, "we have at least 10 such parks in Kokorkov." The dog's jaw dropped. 10? Maybe even more." The cat waved a paw. "I'm sorry, I probably can't help you with that." Then he leaned on his cane and quickly hurried on again. "Je sais que moi leaving." After, the dog watched him for a while. "Why is everyone always in such a hurry?" he wondered, and then he sighed. "Well, that didn't help much." The dog stood for a moment, and then a new idea occurred to him. "Yeah, I'll climb somewhere high," exclaimed Coin. "If I have a good view, I'll definitely see the park." He looked around and saw a large building nearby. It was the town hall and had a tall tower. "That's it." The dog quickly ran there and started climbing the stairs. When he finally reached the lookout, he leaned against the railing, out of breath. Phew. Then he looked around and froze. As far as he could see, there was the city, houses, streets, roofs, and in the Further parks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The dog rubbed its eyes. That's well, I can't believe it. From that height, they all looked almost the same. The dog pondered. So that didn't help me much either. He thought for a moment and then suddenly jumped up. I know, officer. He will definitely help me. The dog quickly ran down the tower and back into the streets. He looked around in all directions. Officer, but no matter where he went, he didn't see any officer. What bad luck, he sighed. He wandered further through the streets and was already quite tired and also a little sad. But just as he was about to turn the next corner, he noticed something. There was a building on the corner, and above the door was a big sign saying police. The dog lit up with joy. Ekta popoi. Hooray! Rescue! He exclaimed and quickly ran inside. The police station was quiet and tidy. A policewoman was sitting behind the desk, writing something in a large book. When she heard the door, she looked up and smiled kindly at the dog. "Good day," she said pleasantly. "What brings you here?" The dog was a bit shy, but then he took a breath and started. "Good day. I apologize, but I think I might be lost. I'm looking for a park with slides and climbing frames and carousels, but I couldn't find it. And then I walked through the streets and now I have no idea where I am." The policewoman smiled as if something amused her. "Well," she said kindly, "what a coincidence. Just a moment ago, a cat came to us and said she lost her dog. Now she's next door with a colleague writing a report." The dog widened his eyes. "Really? Really?" The policewoman nodded. "Wait here. I'll go get her right away." The dog nervously shifted by the door, and his tail slowly started to wag. And barely a moment passed when the door from the next room opened. First, the policewoman came out, and behind her, his kitty. As soon as the dog saw her, he ran to her so quickly that his paws just slid on the floor. "Kitty," he called out joyfully. The kitty also beamed and immediately hugged him. "Doggy, oh, I was so worried about you." The dog lowered his ears and felt a bit ashamed. "Sorry, Kitty. I went to buy ice cream and then a hot dog, and then I saw a store with marbles and somehow forgot the way back." The kitty looked at him, but instead of reproach, she just smiled. "Well, the main thing is that you found your way back. And you know what? You did the right thing by going to the police." The dog nodded. "That occurred to me only at the end." The police officers looked at them amusedly, and the policewoman said, "See, everything turned out well." The dog and the cat thanked them and went back out into the streets. This time they walked carefully and stayed close to each other. Soon they arrived at the station and boarded the train that was to take them home. When the train started moving and the city slowly disappeared behind the window, the dog sighed tiredly, stretched out on the seat, laid his head on his paws and said, "Kitty, you have no idea how much I'm looking forward to going home. These big cities, they're not for me. There are too many people, too many streets, and you get lost right away. I prefer our little house, the meadow, and the pond." The kitty patted him on the head. "I know, doggy." The doggy looked out the window at the passing landscape for a while longer and soon fell asleep. Outside, it was slowly getting dark, and the first evening stars appeared in the sky. The train sped through the countryside towards their small town, where their cozy little house awaited them. And so the dog and the cat finally returned home, where it was always the best. And the dog remembered from then on that, in the big city, it's good to pay attention to where you're going, and especially not to leave the meeting place with the cat. A zazvonil zvonec a pohádky byl konec.